All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for tonight's meeting, hybrid meeting of the Fall River Historical Commission. We are meeting both in person and also virtually via Zoom. It is recordings or transmissions of the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions of the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. This meeting is being recorded through Fall River Government TV, which will be available on their YouTube page afterwards. So with that said, may I get a roll call, please?
Jonathan Lima, present.
Elizabeth DeBlock, present.
Rick Mancini, present.
Joyce Rodriguez, present.
And Jason Bouchard Naraki present in person. We do not have tonight Connie Sewell and Ashley DeCuna. They are absent. We have no open seats. All right, so item number 1 on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes from July 22nd, 2024. Elizabeth sent that around yesterday.
I read the minutes of the meeting and I make a motion that we approve them.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion by Rick, seconded by John. Roll call votes. John,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes,
Joyce, to approve the minutes,
I accept those minutes,
you.
Joyce.
and Jason Bouchard Naraki, yes. All right, thank you very much, everyone. All right, next, do we have any citizens input for tonight? Nope. Okay. Fall River Register of Significant Structures. So that was that. Fall River Register of Significant Structures. So that was that. Item number 3, under correspondences, we did receive an email from Cora Dorothy Pierce regarding 275 Indian Town Road. This is it was an inquiry to correct the listing in the Register of Significant Structures. It's apparently to the Pocasset House, although this is the last structure standing within the Indian reservation given to the Pocasset House, although this is the last structure standing within the Indian reservation given to the Pocasset Wampanoag tribe in 1709. This particular house was moved by the Fall River Water Department from city property on Blossom Road in 1911, after the city of Fall River began today's 1996. Their home was located up Indian Town Road across the street from today's 1996. Their home was located up Indian Town Road across the street from to higher ground, up a water department. So the city was instructed to move her home to higher ground, up a water department. So the city was instructed to move her home to higher ground. The oxen had difficulty and the original home crumbled, so the water department moved a water worker's home from Blossom Road. This is documented in the Herald News of the day, as well as Fall River Indian Reservation, which was published for the city's taking. This home was never lived in by Dr. Perry, although his mother was Hannah Crank. Her family's home was on Blossom Road, on the Blossom Road side, near to both the ancient and modern day tribal grounds. Today's tribe, the Pocasset Wampanoag tribe and of Massachusetts and Rhode Island, has never given up the fight for the return of the sacred and ceremonial lands. Chief Everett Page has lived in the Flint neighborhood as did his father. He visits the reservation daily with members of his family and the tribal community. The Pocasset tribe was recognized by the state legislature in 1938 when Freetown land was given for the benefit of the 12 families listed in the Earl Report in 1852 as having been part of the Watapa Troy Fall River praying town on Indian Town and Blossom Road, which once had its own school and chapel. So please remove the incorrect information from this building. Although the land at 275 Indian Town is part of the original 1709 reservation, the water department structure was for Fanny and her 3 children. And there's additional information beneath. But regarding this letter, this is from Cora Pierce, Deputy THPO of the Narragansett Indian Tribe Historic Preservation Office. So regarding that, the significant structures, it's just a matter of editing the database to reflect the proper name. So as she has indicated, it's not the Crank House. So I believe it historically should be referred to as the Fanny Perry House. from what I'm gathering from this letter. She doesn't offer indicate a appropriate name, historic name, but based on what the information she has in here, I believe the Fanny Perry House is appropriate. If there's any objections to that.
No, none whatsoever. Do you need a motion for this?
I'm trying to understand the direction here. I think that the Pecasset history should be recognized in that name. I don't know how exactly, but the fact that the property,
Well, this is for the structure.
well, it's water department, basically
Right.
water department structure. But there is no other site that I'm aware of where the Pecasset tribe is possibly going to be able to consolidate their history.
We could, it could be, historically, we could call it, it could be referred to as the Fanny Perry House dash, regarding something for the Pocasset Wampanoag tribe. We could put in the notes as well that it is from the tribal land. We can do that as well. It's a very minor entry on our part on our database.
Now, our recommendation, would our recommendation have to go to the Commission of Indian Affairs?
I will of course send a follow-up letter with her indicating our decision, and if she has any comments on what we decide, then she's free to send any comments or opinions, and we can continue the conversation further. But I think this is just a very, and this happens too when properties, especially those that were documented so long ago in the late 1970s, early 1980s, we have seen the incorrect historic name used just because of what resources were available at the time. It's just a very, on our end, it's a very simple fix in the database. So I can offer a suggestion to her, and then we can see if she accepts that, and then we can revisit this at our next meeting once I hear back from her. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
makes sense to me.
Okay.
All right.
And you don't need a motion for that. You can just do that and
Yep.
get back to us.
Yep. So is everyone okay with referring to it as the
Mhm.
Fanny Perry House?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. And then I will see if that is acceptable, and then we can take a vote at our next meeting to officially update that record. Okay. So thank you. All right, so I will get back to her on that. Thank you. We did receive correspondence from, this is for item number 4, correspondence from Michelle Molanger and Peter Butler regarding Section 106 review of the Fall River Terminal Building at 118 4th Street. And based on the information that, and I don't have a copy for everyone, I have it here, but based on what they sent over, it's just a matter of the front entrance is getting a new entrance or new doors or something.
Mhm.
But because it's federal property, any alterations as part of the review process has to come before the local historical commission.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though the building itself is not historic.
Correct. It looked like the bulk of this packet that they sent over, and I could send it around, is actually for the New Bedford structure. So they combined the two in the letter for a maintenance facility in New Bedford. So we have to provide comments. I don't have any comments. It's the entrance doors. So
Yeah.
yeah. Any questions on that
No.
before we move on?
Did they show a sample of what they intended, or did they state it's going to be similar or
Similar.
like in kind?
Similar, like in kind.
Okay,
Mhm.
then,
Yep.
then I don't see an issue.
Okay, thank you. Item number 5, we had an inquiry regarding design restrictions on 377 Middle Street. I indicated to Carrie that there's no design regulations on that structure. Item number 6, 556 High Street, the Benjamin Wardell House. This is in the Highlands 40C district. an inquiry for financial incentive programs for rehabilitation and preservation of a multifamily dwelling. Is there anyone here regarding item number 6 at all? No. Okay. I did send over because the property is in the 40C, and it is income producing, so there would be the likelihood that they can go for historic tax credits as well as possibly CPC. I'm not sure.
Is
I
it
know-
owner occupied?
That's a good question. I don't know. Possibly.
Owner occupied
So they were
causes a lot of issues.
right. They were forwarded contact with CPC, and I provided a contact over to the Preservation Society regarding any recommendations for firms that can help them with the tax credit process. Because that's
Is there any way that we can research and find out if it's owner occupied, phone call, and then otherwise, maybe this should just be tabled until
Right.
we take any action?
sure. I mean, all it was just an inquiry. So I forwarded necessary contact to him, and we had spoken on the phone as well. So I think he's just trying to take control of the property from his family. It needs some assistance. So
Mhm.
yeah. Okay. All right. So moving on under new business, item 7, 1181 North Main Street. This is the Fall River Fire Museum. This is a request for a letter of support for Community Preservation Act grant funding for window and exterior vestibule replacement. Do we have anyone here regarding this? Wouldn't mind coming forward, and for those that will be presenting, please state your name and the organization that you're affiliated with or your address. And if you happen to be, for those that are attending virtually, to also just mention that how you are presenting if you're attending via Zoom or in person. Thank you.
I'm Paul Rico. I'm with Stack Architects, and we've been engaged by the Fall River Fire Museum here in person to document the required renovation of the windows and the exterior vestibule at the existing fire museum building, which is an 1873 Hartwell and Swayze, yes. And this is Ken Ledger. He is the treasurer of the Fall River Fire Museum. So I think you were able to go through the stuff that we had sent in, yes. So in doing our research when we first got the job, we found out that the property is listed on the Massachusetts Cultural Resource Information System, and so that prompted us that we're going to have to send in to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts project notification form. And then I contacted you as the chair, and you said that it would be best for us to come in and get a letter of support from the Fall River Historic Commission.
Yes.
So that's what we're here for. If you're familiar with the building right on North Main Street, and I did print out some packets of pictures here that
Thank you.
I only got 3,
It's
but
okay. We can share.
but you can share. So here.
I have one copy of each of the plans if anyone wants to look at them.
Okay, I looked at them.
You did, okay.
last night.
All right.
Just,
Can you then use it all? This is the plan.
If you're aware of
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oops, go ahead.
Yes,
Thank you.
no. Thank you.
Drive by it all the
as
time.
you can see from the picture, a lot of they're the original windows in most cases. There's only been about 3 or 4 or 5 that have been replaced, probably in the 60s or 70s. And a lot of the windows now are just boarded up with plywood. And so, in anticipation of the building getting used as the Fall River Fire Museum, plus it also houses the Fall River Animal Control Office. They want to repair the windows and that exterior vestibule. And from those pictures, you can see how bad, what bad shape those windows are. And I believe one of the very bottom picture is Freedom Street, where the vestibule is, yeah, that one there.
Yep.
Oh.
We went to take a look at it, but someone has obviously done a rather sloppy job of painting and had some inappropriate light fixtures. But just to see what the original door looked like,
Sure.
we went there and we're trying to replicate that, but though with some glazing and some of those panels, just for the appropriateness of entering the building. That entrance won't be handicap accessible, but they have already added in the back a handicap entrance where the handicap parking will be for the museum. So it is our hope that you will concur that before the windows actually fall out of the building. And then I did send in, and I can give you small if you want to look at a big set. I did send this in also so that you could see that we are on the, like next to the left page.
Take a look.
You can see that we have measured all the windows and the profiles of the sashes and the mullions, and we'll have them historically replicated. One of the pictures does show one of the original windows in the basement with a dark green paint, so for now we're calling the dark green as the color because it seems to be the original color. And
The replacement windows, sorry, are going to be
aluminum.
aluminum clad.
They'd be full aluminum.
Full aluminum, okay.
Yes.
Painted,
The dark green color that seems to be the original color.
is the aluminum style going to be like in kind the original wood window?
Yes, it's,
Like
we've
any-
got it in the drawing set. We measured all the profiles and it would match. We're using as a basis of design Sturgis windows, which has done this type of work before where they match the exact profile and width of the original sashes and mullions. And
Do you have any cuts of the window at this point?
no, we in the drawing set on the detail page, we have shown the profiles that we measured. But now we'll have to go and actually, once it's approved, and we'll go to a window manufacturer to get actual cuts.
Yeah, well, we would almost have to see the final cuts to give you an approval on a window
Yeah.
or a window installation, because it's hearsay at this point. You know, we haven't visually looked at the style and the type of window that's going in there.
You said you used a firm in the past that has worked on windows similar to this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they've done historic restorations and okay.
Yeah, that seems to be their main trade.
Right.
Is historic replication
Mm-hmm.
of existing.
And then the vestibule that will be
Just rebuilt. I mean,
okay.
it's deteriorated to a point of it's sort of ready to come down.
It'll
This-
be done on wood as well.
Yes.
Okay.
It'll be done with wood.
Is this last page here, we've got a door, I think that's looking on the left-hand side of the building. Is that gonna be restored to its originality? This is
Yeah, that's Freedom Street
This is
that we
Freedom
went.
Street, right, it's
Yeah.
on the left.
To see what the original door looked like, because at North Main Street, Agawam 6, the door's long gone. So,
But this is not an original door, it's got texture 111 backing and everything else on it, so it's not the
Well-
original.
I took it as being the original.
They didn't manufacture texture 111 in those days.
No.
It looks like an old door though, because it's paneled. It
Yeah.
looks like maybe that
Yeah.
used to be an open air vestibule, and at some point it was closed in. But a very long time ago.
Yeah.
At North Main Street, where the door is missing, the actual hinge holes and the stripe blocking mechanism is still in place, so there was a door there. I actually did see very original photographs of the building without any vestibule whatsoever, so I think
Yeah.
the vestibule was added, but yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, I think it was added in like 1910 or something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because then I did see a picture from 1910 where the vestibule appears.
Mhm.
So it was our take that we would reproduce that as closely as possible.
Okay. What's the timeline for the project?
Well, Michael Page, who's the president of the Fire Museum, he's hoping as soon as possible.
Okay.
He's hoping for it before the winter.
Yep.
They've already been granted funds, I believe, from
Mhm.
from community preservation. And now we have the drawing set pretty ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And we're trying to get the building secured and buttoned up as quickly as possible to prevent any further deterioration.
Is there an issue with the roof or shingles on
The
that
roof is
building
being
also?
replaced. That's one of the things that's being replaced. I believe the contracts are gonna be signed shortly.
Oh, okay.
but that's outside of my scope.
Yeah.
So,
Right, but that's another part of the issue, yeah.
yeah.
Yes,
And your extension has just been given by the CPC.
correct.
It was just
the
added,
roof?
so you got 2 more years on the funding. They've been funded and it was extended for 2 more years.
Correct.
And I believe they used some of the funding already for masonry work here.
We've done repointing and stuff like
Yeah.
that. That was, yes, we've been working with the CPC for a
Keep on
while.
that
Mhm.
style.
Unfortunately, COVID set us back. and
Right.
The estimates that we had pre-COVID
Mhm.
have changed dramatically.
Mhm.
So we've gone back to the CPC to reissue additional funding.
Right. Okay. I don't have any other questions on this. I mean, it's in Hartwell and Swayze did work across the city between the structure, actually right across the street, the Borden Block, and yeah, they were prolific in Fall River, coming out from Boston. So,
I believe there was several fire stations,
Mhm.
all with the same design.
Yeah.
oh yeah, this one I
Three.
believe over on Highland Ave and Prospect. That's another
Yeah,
one, and
that was Wickersham number one, is the
mhm.
one that we talked about
Freedom
on Freedom
Street.
Street.
Right.
There's the one on Pleasant Street.
and then Central Congregational Church on Rock Street. They did that as well. So they
That was a Hartwell and Swayze.
another Hartwell Swayze. Yeah, they
They're very prominent.
very
in the
busy in,
city.
in Fall River. Yep. But no, I mean, this is the windows, especially. I mean, you're having the roof done, but the windows, that's a big chunk of a project right there. So,
Indeed.
anyone have any questions at all?
And
This is-
you're looking for a letter of support from us?
Correct.
Right.
It's actually a continuation. You've
Done it in
this
the past,
board
yes.
in the past
Yeah.
has issued a letter of
Yep.
support for the project.
Right.
So it's basically a continuation.
and
It was my understanding that it would be best for, our next step would be to file the Massachusetts project notification
Mhm.
form, and it would be best to have your approval letter or concurrence
so would
to
you
go
need?
in with that.
So would you need 2 letters to support? One for the submission with the Mass Historical, and then one for CPC, or just
None of the
Not CPC,
CPC,
doesn't need CPC.
it doesn't
Right.
need CPC
No.
because they've already been granted the
Right.
funding. You
Right.
may have already
for the
done that.
windows, but did that expire though?
No, it's all been
It's-
extended.
Okay,
Alright.
for the windows and everything. Okay,
Right.
all right.
Their
So
funding
it's
has been
just
extended for
the
2
Mass
years.
Historical
Mass
Society
Historical.
project notification form supplement
Okay.
that we're asking.
All right.
So you need a motion?
Okay.
CPC. I'm just updating. Okay, so this is not for CPC letter of support. This is for Mass Historical letter of support. Okay.
Okay. Do you want a motion on this?
Yeah.
You should get a motion.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I would make a motion that we give a letter of support based on the drawings submitted today, based on some final review when the actual product is at hand. So and we can just keep this, you don't
Yeah.
mind, we'll keep this
No.
on
Yeah.
file.
Because the Mass Historical will
They'll review that too.
still review
Right,
that all that too. So
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a motion by Rick for letter of support
I'll
based on
second
the
the
material.
motion.
Thank
Yep.
you. All right. So I have a motion by Rick, second by Elizabeth. Need a roll call vote. John,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes,
Joyce. Joyce, we're voting to approve the letter? Yes or no?
I agree.
Thank you. And Jason Bouchard Naraki, yes. Right. I will have that prepared for you and the letter of support, and I'll have that sent
Yeah.
over.
And then,
Thank you.
thank you, and, when we do get like the shot turns and the actual cut sheets on the windows, then I'll contact you about
Yes,
how
please.
best to proceed.
Thank you.
Because this is sort of new to me. The guy in our office, he did a lot of the historical stuff, has
Mhm.
left us, so I'm starting to learn how the ropes work.
Okay. If there's any questions you have on our role with anything, please by all means give me a call or email is great. So
You've been very helpful.
My-
I was just
Anything.
noting,
Thank you.
Mr. LePage, when did that bell tower go? And also, it looks like
Oh,
it
yeah.
had been a water tower as well.
There was a training tower. There was a training tower in the rear of the building. And as far as the bell tower, the hose tower, I'm not sure. I think that it may have been after.
Not
the
in our
hurricane.
lifetime, in other words, it's before that, before you even, it went before you even knew about it.
Yes.
It's
yes.
that old, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them had the extensive towers that were brought down, and I believe it was due to hurricane damage and things like that.
And it was also a police department.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, that's the side where the animal control is. They're on the police side, and we're on the fire side. Eventually, we hope to have the whole thing, but right now
Yeah,
it's a good
yeah.
partnership that we have going right at the moment.
Saved a lot of energy there.
Yes.
great. Thank you very much.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
appreciate the support.
have a good night.
You as well.
Item number 8, 460 Globe Street. This is the Globe Yarn Mills. This is a request for a letter of support to be included as part of a historic tax credit application. Do we have anyone here regarding item number 8? Anyone online? Yes, actually, I believe Ed is online.
Hi, Jason.
Good evening. If you can state your name and the organization that you're representing and how you're presenting in person or virtually, please.
Absolutely. My name is Ed Hamzanlu. I'm representing Mascan Capital. We are proposing for a historic rehab of an existing mill to new residential units located at 460 Globe Street. My team, including Michael Laflash, Doug Keller from Epsilon Associates, our historic consultant, and our architect, Barry Ganek from Ganek Associates, are representing today.
Wonderful. Thank you. Can you describe the project and what is going on with the mill? What the plan is for the mill?
I start and then I pass that to my team. Currently, building is, we technically use the term underutilized. 4-floor building, originally built in 1881. 2 floors currently, the basement and the 3rd floor are vacant. 2nd floor is used as a furniture store, and the 3rd floor is a billiard bar, club, and a flea market.
Excellent. And it's being converted into, I think it's market rate.
Fully residential market rate that is located in HD zoning, so at least 80% of the units must be at market rate.
Okay. How many apartments altogether in the building?
We are currently proposing 89 units. We are in the design process.
And will there be any type of other commercial uses for the building,
No.
or is it being strictly residential?
It would be fully residential.
Okay. Are there any structures that have to be demolished on the property as part of the rehab?
Not exactly. There would be some slight, small change.
Okay. Thank you,
Just
Chris.
let architect Barry Gannick to help with that.
Okay.
Good evening, Barry Gannick, Gannick Architects. And yes, we are proposing the removal of a small one-story addition on the southeast corner of the building. That was a later addition, a shed. And that's also some late additions on the north elevation, a aluminum storefront that was added much later, is not really historically contemporary or appropriate to the original building. And that's pretty much the changes we're going to make, other than replacement of windows and doors, all the openings.
Okay. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. No, go ahead. I ask about the any spot demolition, I guess, because because the property is on the National Register of Historic Places and also included in the city's Register of Significant Structures. There's a any demolition, partial or in whole, of any building that's listed on that register. At least with the city, there's a 6-month demolition delay that starts once we receive notification of that. We have in the past, actually on a neighboring mill over on Chase Street, we have approved in the past a waiver for any selective demolition, as long as it's, as long, I believe, we did that because it was approved, or at least given the go-ahead from the Mass Historical Commission. So as long as they have given the okay that modern additions can be removed as part of the plan, then we can provide a waiver for selective demolition. I'm just putting that out there. I'm not sure at what stage you're at in terms of the overall project.
I can jump in there, Jason. Michael LaFlash with Epsilon Associates.
Yes.
We are currently, our federal Part 2 application has been submitted to Mass Historic, so it's currently under review there.
Okay.
And we'll be submitting our initial Part 2 application on the state applications front later next week, I suppose. So we will have review comments back on at least part of the application within the next few weeks.
Okay. So you're not at that point where you're doing any selective demolition or anything of that nature, but when you do get to that point, it's a matter of just contacting us, and we would have to review it, but we can provide a waiver as long as if it's part of the plan and if it's been given the go-ahead from the MHC and I guess National Park Service at that point.
The windows that are being suggested, are they aluminum or aluminum wood clad, or what's being proposed?
We're proposing aluminum for this project.
Again, like in kind, the original,
Oh, absolutely.
and color, has that been determined? Usually the national, the Mass Historic will designate the color, so is there a color that's been chosen? Is it black,
Michael,
brown,
remind
white?
me what we say in the report right now.
I don't believe we've discussed colors for any of the windows, doors, or anything as of yet.
Okay.
Okay. And what's the the estimated timeline of the project?
We are hoping to secure our financial and approval by Q1, Q2 next year, and start the construction in Q2 2026, and finish the construction by Q3 2027.
Okay. Are there any questions at all regarding this? And it has there's some activity going on in that neighborhood, so that's good. Between mill conversions and I know the local business district is ramping up some efforts, so that's there's positive activity happening throughout the city, and in particular in Globe Village, where hasn't really seen much investment recently, so it's encouraging. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And the original windows, I believe, were of a darkened color. I don't know, I can't remember if they were brown or black windows, so that's probably what's gonna be mandated.
Uh,
'Cause there was a
Yeah, that's
school where
fine.
they wanted
Well-
white.
Correct. On A Street, they wanted white, not black.
Yeah,
I mean, we can make a recommendation, but
it seems like it's a little early.
it's a little
For
early.
it.
Yeah, and in the grand scheme of things, yep. So okay. I had no questions aside from what I had asked, and it's pretty
That's fine.
straightforward with
Yep.
the design and so forth. Joyce, do you have any questions on
I
it?
agree.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So this is for a letter of support for the historic tax credit application.
Right. Yep.
Making a motion then to approve the letter of support if anyone has one.
I'll make a motion to provide the letter of support.
All right. I have a motion by Elizabeth
I'll second that.
and seconded by John. All right. Roll call vote. This is for a letter of support for the Globe Yard Mills. John,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes,
Joyce.
I agree.
Thank you. And Jason Bouchard Naraki, yes. I will have that letter over to you. I know the filing deadline is the 31st, so I'll have that to you before the 31st.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
thank you.
Okay. She has no plans. Okay, thank you. All right, so item number 9. This is for 618 Rock Street. This is the Jerome Borden House in the Highlands 40C. They're requesting a certificate of appropriateness for the replacement of wood shingles as part of Community Preservation Act grant funding. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Diane Carrere. I'm the vice principal at the Antioch School at the Jerome Borden Building. We have received grant money from Preservation. We are ready to start construction. We are replacing all of the wooden shingles with get the name right, Western Red Cedar shingles, and it's going to have a clear finish for now. And they are similar in size. So we just needed a request support letter so we could get the permit, so we could get going. on
Yeah,
the
this is a
building.
multi-level because I think so. Part of the exterior restoration that is occurring because there's CPC, so that's a letter of support. But then, because you're in the Highlands 40C, that's a
We
different
need the
level
permit.
because now that's an exterior modification or change. So that's a certificate of appropriateness. So it's very complex, but it's yeah. I had no questions regarding that. I know you're doing an awful lot of work on the house as it is. I know the dormers, I think the chimney, roof, and I believe you have down the pike is the porte cochere recreation.
That's our last step.
Yeah.
Any part of the phase.
So it's great considering that's our singular protected historic district in the city. So yeah. I had no questions on it. I know that you're ready to go and
Yep.
okay.
We finally have the shingles. They were back ordered for like months.
Mhm.
Contractors raring to go, so we're ready to go too.
Excellent. I think this is pretty easy.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we, write or give them a letter of certificate of appropriateness for the replacement of the shingles.
Mm-hmm. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Joyce, thank you. All right, I have a motion by Rick and seconded by Joyce for a certificate of appropriateness for 618 Rock Street. Roll call vote, John,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes,
Joyce,
I agree.
thank you, and Jason Bouchard Naraki, yes. Very easy.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you
much.
so much.
I'll have that sent over to you.
All right, perfect. Have a great night.
You too, Thank you.
another late night for you, huh?
That's okay.
All right, so next we have items 10A, B, and C. This is from Heritage Consulting Group regarding requesting continued letters of support for continued letters of support for historic tax credit applications. So 10A is 110 Chase Street, the Wyoming Mills. 10B is 135 Alden Street, the Flint Mills. And 10C is 80 to 84 North Main Street, which is the BMC Durfee Trust Building. And I believe we do have, who do we have attending regarding that?
Nate Kerwin from Heritage virtually.
Thank you. So because this is a continued letter, have there been any updates, any changes to the projects at all?
For 110 Chase and 135 Alden, there has not been any updates.
Okay.
For 80 to 84 Main Street, the Durfee block, we have submitted an amendment addressing some of the Massachusetts Historical Commission comments back in an amendment application in April this year.
Has
But-
has the roof repair been accomplished on that, on the Durfee Trust building?
I can double check with my colleague to see if that has been completed and provide an update that way.
All right, and would you just maybe verify that there was or was not any structural damage done with that?
According to the project team, there wasn't any structural damage, no.
Structural damage, okay. Just water damage?
Yep, just simple patch and repair.
Regarding, so I know regarding the Wyoming Mills at 110 Chase Street, the partial demolition has not started yet, and we had communicated regarding that in email that you do not need I guess a revision of or a revisit to the waiver for that just yet.
That is correct. Yeah, I checked with the client and we're just holding off on that for now.
Okay. And then regarding the Flint Mills, has there been any, I guess, activity there yet in terms of like pre-demo or nothing of that nature yet?
Not yet. For both of those, for the Wyoming Mills and Flint Mills, we're still working with the MPS on the Part 2 applications and finalizing those.
Okay. All right. I don't think I have any questions for you. Any other questions for him on that? Does anyone have any questions for Nate? No. This is for continued letters of support. So,
Okay.
okay. We can do it as a package if you'd like. We can do that as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right.
All right, I'll recommend that we give a letter of support to Heritage Consulting Group for 110 Chase Street, 135 Alden, the Flint Mills, and 84 North Main Street,
All right.
the
So I have,
Durfee Trust building.
so I have a motion by Rick,
Second that.
John, seconded by John. Thank you. For continued letters of support. May I get a roll call vote? John,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes,
Joyce,
Yes.
and Jason Bouchard Naraki, yes. Nate, I will have those sent over to you before your deadline, your filing deadline. But if you have any questions further,
Perfect.
by all means, just send me an email as well.
No, perfect. Been very helpful. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Item number 11. This is from Ryan LLC regarding continued letters of support for historic tax credit applications. There are 3 properties. 11A is 206 Globe Mills Ave, Stafford Spinning Mills. 11B is 66 Troy Street, the Union Belt Building. And 11C is 529 Eastern Ave, the Notre Dame Rectory. And I believe we have Emily from Ryan here. Yes.
Hi, this is Emily Dominiani with Ryan LLC, present on Zoom.
Thank you. Have there been any updates to the projects?
No real updates. Just excited that Sanford Spinning got its first allocation this round. So I think that means things are going to be moving in a positive direction for that project.
That's great.
Could you take these, Emily, hi Emily, it's Rick. Could you take these as separate items because we're going to be talking probably about the Notre Dame Rectory? Globe Mills Avenue, that's processing as normal. Are they still cleaning that building, or is that completed?
It's mostly done at this point.
So they're still
All
in
the-
the process of cleaning.
Yeah, like cleaning everything out, you mean, of the building? Like taking all the leftover fabric that was left in that building? Is that what you mean?
Yes, correct. So they're not
Yeah,
ready
they're mostly done with that.
right. They're not ready for construction at all. They're just still in the pre-construction period.
Yes.
And she said they got their first allocations, so things will start to ramp up
Move,
now.
yeah, right.
But no, that's great because when you toured it last year, it was quite the undertaking between the two buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no changes to the plans or anything of that nature.
No.
Okay. I know construction's been ongoing over at 66 Troy at Union Dell, so that's good.
Yep.
And that's moving along. No tenants in there. I believe there was one tenant left in there the last visit that we had. So no longer.
Yeah,
any
the first.
tenants?
Yeah, the first floor tenant is staying in the building.
They're still in there?
Yep.
Yep, okay.
Any questions as we're moving along? No. Feel free to jump in whenever. Okay.
I just let Rick do the heavy lifting.
Yeah. And then regarding the Notre Dame Rectory, I know. So last year there was an issue getting electric, which that has been rectified, I believe. But now, has any work started inside the building yet?
Has it been rectified? Has the electrical power been restored to that building?
I actually am not positive on that. I don't, to the best of my knowledge, things have just been moving slowly, plugging slowly along. I don't have any updates on that building.
Okay. All right. I think electric was restored. I think that
I thought we said that last.
that was the last round. I think
The last time we spoke about this, I think it was a very similar
was it
response.
April,
that
January.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's that's been rectified, but nothing's really moved on that building yet.
Yeah, so they ain't going.
Yeah. So they have electricity, but it's just a matter of
Mhm.
they're still lining up financing. I'm sure.
Yeah, this is a first tax credit, so it's been a little bit
Right.
of a learning process, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it was undertaken with the new ownership, correct? Six,
Yeah.
8 months ago?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. I don't have any further questions on the rectory. I mean, that one's kind of iffy just because it is their first project where they're getting tax credits. So I'm hoping they keep the momentum up. It is an architecturally significant building, especially in Flint Village, and the interior is
Very nice.
very intact, and so I'm hoping things line up well for them for this. Any questions for the items? We can go, if there's no other questions, we can go down. We can do it as a package.
We can,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So these are for continued letters for 11A, B, and C.
I'll make a motion to provide the letters for all three projects.
Motion by Elizabeth.
And I'll second the motion.
All right. So motion by Elizabeth, seconded by Rick for support letters for items 11A, B, and C. Make it a roll call. John.
Yes.
Elizabeth.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
Joyce.
Yes.
And Jason Bouchard Naraki. Yes. Emily, I will have those sent over to you before the deadline.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for meeting with us.
Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
All right.
All right. So next, item 12A, we have First Bristol Corp. Continued letter of support for historic tax credit application on 37 Park Street, St. Catherine's Convent Dominican Academy building. Good evening.
How you doing? Jeff Karen, First Bristol Corporation, here in person.
In person.
Any updates on the property?
No updates. I think we have our conditional approval from the federal.
Great.
I believe we've even received a round of funding from the state.
Okay.
So, but still a little bit on hold.
With the Stewart
With the
process,
Stewart process,
lifespan.
all that.
Yeah.
We continue to do our due diligence from, structural engineering, mechanicals. So we're continuing to look at the building and still progress in the background on a.
Are the drawings completed? You were working on that 3 months ago.
They were about 85% complete,
Okay.
and they've kind of held at 85% right now. So,
Sure, until that legal
yeah.
situation gets corrected. Okay,
So
fully understand.
hopefully the new owners will be eager to move, and we're eager to get going.
Yeah.
And that was Lifespan, I believe, right? They're,
I think so. That's who they're in talks with. So,
which that's big, especially because Lifespan has the involvement now with Brown University. So that's that. In my opinion, I think that's going to transform that hospital quite a bit. So
I think the location to the hospital and the overall goals, I don't think have changed with new ownership at the higher level. So I think it's a plan that hopefully will work out. So.
excellent.
Yep.
Good. Do you have do you have work starting soon or nothing yet?
No work starting
They
yet.
can't.
Okay. All right.
Okay, well, I'll recommend a letter of support for this project. It's a good, outstanding project, and I know you're tied up in all this legalese with the various lifespan.
Yeah.
and-
We'd like to see it go sooner than
Yeah,
later too
I
for
know.
us.
It's
Yeah.
holding you up, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, we continue to maintain the building, so
Mhm.
it's still in great shape.
That's
Good.
great.
Well, we'll be anxious to see your next visit when you could produce some drawings and say we're on a go.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
And
hope
then-
so too.
And when you do have works begin, if at all, if we're able to, a number of us are, we can't do it with a full board because of open meeting law, but if maybe like a couple of us were able to tour the building and so forth, it would be
Absolutely.
great to see just
Yep.
the work that's going on.
Yep, not a
That'd be
problem.
great. Awesome. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
So we do have a motion by Rick for a continued letter of support.
I'll second that.
John, thank you. All right, so I have Rick, seconded by John, for 12A. Roll call vote. John,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes,
Joyce,
Yes.
and Jason Bouchard Naraki, yes. All right, I'll send that
Great.
over to you as well.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Have a lot of letters right there. All right, so item 13. This is 1620 Bedford Street, Fall River Waterworks, repair shed number 12. Request for letter of support for Community Preservation Act grant funding for repairs to the structure. Do we have anyone here regarding that item?
Oh, so I suggest we table
Table.
till the next meeting.
All right. Do we need a roll call on that?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. So you're making a motion then to
that
table?
we table till someone presents at the next meeting.
Okay. Table. All right. So motion by Rick to table.
I'll second that.
John, thank you. All right. To table the item number 13 for a future meeting. Roll call vote. John,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes,
Joyce,
Yes.
and Jason Bouchard Naraki. Yes, thank you. All right. Okay, so we have 3 nominations for towards the Register of Significant Structures. Item number 14. This is a homeowner nomination, number 141 Woodlawn Street. Did you get the packets that I sent in your email link? And I also have them there as well. So this particular structure is the Julius and Blanche Goldstein house, built in 1929. And it's not technically part of Leamingville, which was a residential development, largely constructed by a contractor in Fall River. His name is Alfred Leaming. It's just outside of the area, but the house was built by Leaming. So it is a pattern book house. So those are properties or houses that were purchased out of a magazine, sometimes like Sears Roebuck or Aladdin Homes, Gordon Van Tyne. They're mostly geared for the middle class. And Bernard Goldstein funded the house or funded the construction. He was the owner of Modern Furniture on South Main Street, and this was a wedding gift to his son and his new bride. I had worked with the homeowner, Courtney Lopes Finnerty. I might be mispronouncing her last name, to put together the research on it, and also providing the description and so forth. But there is a connection too. A later owner of the house was Louis and Susan Patine, and Louis Patine was a longtime administrator for the Southeastern Regional Transit Authority, which the bus station downtown, which we actually had that on our agenda earlier today, was when it opened in 2013, was named after Lewis for his dedication to the SRTA. So there's that connection too, at least on the local level. So this is the first house in that neighborhood that for nomination, which is, I think, eventually will be a long-term goal to have more properties in the North End nominated, especially for those that they're not on the National Register, they haven't been surveyed yet. Are there any questions on number 14?
No questions.
Okay. So the homeowner could not attend tonight, but I did tell her that the decision will be once if we vote to approve, she will receive a confirmation letter in the mail, but she just has to sign to confirm that it's to list it, and then once we receive that back, then it's just a matter of listing it. Pretty easy. Okay. Make it a motion to any questions to
Is that a
approve it?
motion to approve?
Yes. The
I'll make a
nomination.
motion to approve.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so I have a motion by John to approve the nomination for item 14. I got a second?
I'll second
Rick.
the motion.
Thank you. Okay, motion by John, seconded by Rick. Roll call vote. John?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
And Jason Bouchard-Naraki, yes. All right, thank you. Item number 15, 29 Beacon Street. This is another homeowner nomination by the homeowner is Christopher Peckham. This is regarding the private William H. Smithson house at 29 Beacon Street. He has an approximate date of circa 1877. In our email communication, I did indicate it's a Greek revival. It's a smaller 1.5-story Greek revival. It has been altered, but it does retain one of the frieze band windows on the half-story. So my professional opinion on that is that there's more windows just covered up by the vinyl siding. And then the bump out bay in the front was added later. So I believe Greek Revival is much earlier. So I'm thinking probably 1830, 1850s. That area, Fall River, was
Say for Fall River though, I think it came a little bit later. So it could be 1860s even.
It's very difficult to find the records though if it's pre-1862, I think it is, because that's when the city lines changed. So the record, if it was built earlier than this, then the initial building record will be with the town of Tiverton, because it's south of Columbia Street. But he did go through the history of the house, and it's pretty well documented what he has. But again, this is one of the first in that neighborhood, and it's probably one of the older houses in that neighborhood too. And it does have a tie as well to Alfred Smith, who acquired part of the Durfee farm in that neighborhood, which part of the Durfee farm became the lower end of Kennedy Park. So are there any questions on this nomination at all?
No.
Okay. All right. So, and the same thing, he will receive a letter to confirm and, all right. So this is for acceptance to nominate.
All right. Well, I'll
Make it a motion.
make a motion that we accept the
Thank you.
piece of property on 29 Beacon Street.
Mhm. All right. Motion by Rick.
I'll second it.
Elizabeth, seconded by Elizabeth, to accept 29 on Beacon Street onto the Register of Significant Structures. Roll call vote. John?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
And Joyce?
Yes.
And Jason Bouchard-Naraki, yes. Thank you. All right, thank you. And item 16 is, and I have multiple addresses, unfortunately. So I have 143 Everett Street, also 253 Alden Street. It's the same structure. This is the Espirito Santo School. So I'm making this nomination on behalf of Andrew Raposo, the principal. I want to come on up. and I think just due to the
Yep.
board and everything,
you.
yeah.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Andrew Raposo. I reside 1166 New Boston Road. I am here as a citizen of the city and also as the principal of Espirito Santo School, 143 Everett /253 Alden Street. Good evening to all of you.
Evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, so the property, so I'm making the nomination. In this case, I was contacted by Andrew in the past to have it nominated onto the city's register. And also because you have a board that has to make approvals and so forth. And but the property, so when very fascinating. So when I was looking up information, I found, and it's in the packet, a newspaper article that shows the architectural rendering of the building. The architects were Murphy, Hindle, and Wright from Providence, and they did. Oh goodness, they did the United Presbyterian, which is now Christ the Rock Church on Rock and Walnut Street. They did Santo Cristo Parish on Columbia Street. Obviously, Espirito Santo, and a large number of church buildings in Rhode Island. They were based out of Providence, and amongst other things that they had done, houses and so forth. But this is, and even in the newspaper article from 1910, it does mention this is the first Portuguese parochial school in the United States.
Correct.
That's even better. Yeah.
We will celebrate 115 years this year.
Wow. Excellent. And then there's in addition to the back, 1963. I couldn't find the architect on that, but I'm sure I could probably find. I was looking on the through the newspapers, and I was waiting for an email back from the building department, but records like that are very hard to come by from them.
From my knowledge, is that when they built the new parish next door in 1963, the pastor at the time built the extension to the school in 63, which I took a picture of the cornerstone and sent it to Jason. They built the extension, which included classroom space of 2 floors.
Yep.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. And especially Flint Village is really needs to be documented and surveyed eventually. And this is a good start. And you have the Flint Mills next door, which will be hopefully underway soon. Yeah. And then the intention though to have it nominated, they will be eligible for CPC funds with this, I believe, down the line. So that can be used for like exterior work, brick repointing, things like that, roof. Yeah.
And this home, I would think, this property would also qualify for the National Register. So you might want to look into getting that registered.
That's the next step.
Okay, good.
Long-term planning is this is a start.
There's good money available for this type of structure on the National Register. Yes.
Correct. Absolutely. And the records too for the architects as well. I believe they are at the Rhode Island Historic Society Library in Providence, which is good. The city's records, especially that far back, are very spotty from my own personal experience. But it's fantastic, and there's plenty of coverage in the newspaper when the building opened. So, any questions at all for Andrew?
No, none at all.
This is a good one. Yeah.
My old neighborhood, the Flint, 82 years ago.
And it was part of, and it was, I didn't realize there were 2 different waves of Portuguese immigration to Fall River. The first one was in the early 20th century, and then there's a little bit of a lull, but then there's the second wave that came through in the 1950s, somewhere around there. And because Flint Village was always primarily the French Canadian neighborhood. So I mean, this is it's a reflection of the changing character of the. It's like any other school, like Nathaniel Borden School on Morgan Street, that was built to accommodate the city's population, basically just exploding at that point. So this is a reflection of the change in the neighborhood as well.
Absolutely,
so that's great. Excellent.
Well, I will make a nomination that we write a letter, not a letter, acceptance.
Excellent. Motion by Rick.
I'll second the motion.
Elizabeth. seconded by Elizabeth, to accept 143 Everett / 253 Alden Street. Roll call vote. John?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
And Joyce?
Yes.
And Jason Bouchard Naraki, yes. Right. I'll send the letter over to you, and then I'm sure you'll have to go through your necessary channels and so forth.
Yep.
And yeah.
Absolutely.
So, this is
Pleasure.
great.
Thank you all very, very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Have a
You're
good night.
welcome. You too.
Thank you. Okay. How does it? Ooh, oh, it's only 7:05. I thought it was going to be a lot later.
Yeah.
So under old business, 17, Bank Street Armory update. So the City Council Committee on Ordinances met recently, and so the property is now under the control of City Council. We will be working with the Fall River Preservation Society to develop, go through the necessary channels of getting updated
Financing
and
and rehabilitation of the property.
we do need, so we should have a discussion on this, a more formal discussion on this, and obviously we'll need to get the mayor involved and the city council involved, and Alex, do you want to jump in on this at all, possibly? Thank you for your patience as well.
No worries. It's fun to watch. Hi, Alexander Silva, 148 Purchase Street, Fall River, a member of the Preservation Society's Board of Directors. Essentially, as Jason was saying, Chair Jason was saying, as a result of that City Council Ordinance Committee, the Historic Commission and Preservation Society has essentially been asked to maybe come up with some kind of framework for a plan to move forward with the armory in a way that will, preserve the building and ensure its successful redevelopment in a way that the community desires, the community as a whole. So the working group, which includes Jason, Rick, myself at the moment, has met and kind of come up with a framework, a general skeleton that we're going to meet, I believe, with the mayor's office and the administration to present that, get municipal buy-in, present it to the historic commission, you all get your buy-in, and then essentially kind of move forward with there. And just generally, it'll involve some public outreach in a number of ways, and the end result will hopefully be some action items to ensure that development that in theory, the community will have somewhat agreed on that they'd want to see. So, yeah, any questions? Happy to answer.
Okay. So once we receive feedback from the mayor's office and city council, really, then we will move forward on scheduling a meeting. If there's any other stakeholders, I think we need to get involved. But then, in terms of funding,
I think we had said the city council too.
City council, yeah. So in terms of funding and so forth, I don't. I'm drawing a blank right now.
It was going to pair with CLG,
right,
moving
and that's
forward, I believe, in a
down
couple
here
other,
as well. Yeah.
yeah.
So
there'll be the information. when we
there's
draft
there's a lot of moving bodies involved here
Yeah.
that have got to be coordinated, and we're in the primary stages of that.
Absolutely.
So it'll take a little bit of time, but as Alex just stated, next meeting is to get the administration up to date so that they're fully aware of what's transpiring, and then move on from there with other organizations and groups to start pulling this together more tightly.
All right. Any questions for Alex on this item at all for the armory? Okay. Did you want to mention the? No, we can talk about the
steep roof.
No, oh, sorry, that's coming up. Thank you, Alex. All right.
Oh no, DANA.
Yeah. No.
Well,
Okay.
I don't. I think it's too premature.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Item 18, demolition delay ordinance amendment update. I believe it went through first passage of through City Council. I believe to change or make an amendment to the Historical Preservation Ordinance, Chapter 38, to allow 12 months for city-owned property. And I don't think there has been really any other. Absolutely, come on. Sorry.
Same meeting. Alexander Silva, 148 Purchase Street, board member of the Preservation Society in Fall River. At that same city council committee on ordinance meeting, the city council committee on ordinance moved forward, as Jason said, the addition of a line that increased the demolition delay in Fall River for municipal owned buildings from 6 months to 12 months. But I think, as we had stated at the original meeting, part of the more significant, in my opinion, change that we're looking for mirrors New Bedford's demolition delay ordinance, which has some significant changes to the procedure. It essentially elevates the discussion to also require some city council input and decisions and required evidence and such. I think I sent the text of the demolition delay ordinance to the mayor's office, corporation council, the city council, and I think Jason, you probably have it, but you guys can all, it's a quick Google search for New Bedford's demolition delay ordinance. It's like a couple pages, very, very useful.
And I haven't received, not received if there's a revision to what was discussed at our last meeting, because I know they had to go back to edit again.
Yeah, I think the end result was moving forward that initial change with that one line, which I believe still requires full city council approval. And then we're meeting again after corporation council better examines New Bedford's demolition delay ordinance to give an opinion on those kinds of changes that were outlined.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions on that? 19A, this is the certified local government application update. So the application, because of so this is regarding the amendment, there's another amendment, goodness, to the Historical Preservation Commission's ordinance, chapter 38, regarding our membership. So the National Park Service came back, said that they require all members of the municipal board to be appointed by the mayor. And right now we had half and half, well, roughly half and half. We had three members that were appointed by city council and 4 by the mayor, or vice versa. And that went over the heads of everyone at MHC. When Jen Doherty contacted me on that, she said that was a surprise to her as well. And because they reviewed the ordinance. So because this affects our application for CLG, I included Alan Rumsey, from Corporation Council, into that whole communication. So it seemed like he was fast tracking it, and so there was an amendment. The city council had no objection to the change. So I believe the city council still has the ability to confirm any appointments from the mayor. So there's still that order of checks and balances. So that, but I believe that went through first passage already. So that with the ordinance, I believe. But once I have the updated, amendment, once it's passed and signed by the mayor, we will then have to resubmit the application for CLG, which, now that we know what is expected, I just have to update some things and we can just resubmit and get I think the longest part of it was getting the signatures, but that's okay. But we'll work on that. So once we are ready to go, then I'll resubmit. Any questions on that, on the CLG?
No, it's good.
Yep.
It's-
Yeah,
Get that moving.
that was
That's so
fast.
important to
Yeah,
the city,
that was
actually.
very
Yeah.
fast. So I thanked Alan for that. 20A. So we did receive some surveys back. I have one copy of each here. If anyone, I did include it in the packet. I don't know if anyone has had a chance to look at them.
Yeah, I read all of them.
Okay, Joyce, did you see the surveys that came back?
I actually haven't seen any of the surveys.
Okay. So out of the 149 surveys that were sent out, I think there's 32, 33, somewhere around there. I checked with Connie to see what happened the first go around 10 years ago. And she said about the same number were sent out, 150, and that was for the initial 40C, and they received about 40 back. So we're in line. 2 of the properties I mentioned at our last meeting, are owned by South Coast Health. They will eventually be proposed for demolition, unfortunately. So one of them we had omitted completely, but the other one on the corner of Prospect and Highland Avenue, I think the address is 360 Prospect. I could be wrong. That one is slated for demolition, but nothing's been filed yet. They don't have a timeline. But they did contact me to find out how soon this was happening. So our next steps, we have a few things happening. So our next steps, what I would like to do is, and I'll wait a little bit more if there's any other surveys that come back with to Carrie. I had sent over, I think there were 2 that came in last, and they were after the filing deadline of the 31st of July. So most of them are pretty positive, for the most part. There's a few that were circled that they want more info, which they will get at a public meeting. So I think the next step is what I will do is I will go through, and if somebody wants to help as well, please, to take the addresses that want in, or have said that yes, they would like to be in the 40C, maybe to mark them out on a map, and we can kind of hone in the boundary line. I think that's the next step, and then we can update that map, the main spreadsheet that had sent around with the addresses, and from there, I think that's going to dictate any the Form B. Well, so it will be a Form B for the building inventory, and then a Form A because it's an expansion of the district. I believe it's Form A.
A is for land.
Yes. They'll do like there's like an area report. In terms of funding and so forth, so the Fall River Preservation Society, that's in terms of hiring a consultant and so forth that can help us with the surveys, or the inventory, and there's a study report that goes at the end that goes to MHC for acceptance. All of that should really be done by a firm, and the Preservation Society has said that they will apply for grant funds to assist in that project, because they when the initial 40C was created, that was strictly through the Fall River Preservation Society. So with that said, it's just a matter of figuring out like how many properties. So, and we have an idea of how much it costs per property from different firms, smaller and larger firms. So it goes anywhere from, like, for a smaller firm, it will be roughly $200 per property, to a larger firm up to $500 a property, depending. And that covers the research and so forth. But it depends on how big we want to make it. So I think for our next meeting, we should tighten the boundary lines. We did go quite large for this one, just to see where the interest was. So if we can tighten it up a little bit. I know we did not receive any responses from anyone on Winter Street, and I believe parts of Walnut Street, so that could be an area where we just omit from.
Are we gonna do a second reach out?
I had asked Connie if there's a need to do a second reach out, and she said no, they didn't do that. So they went with what they had.
That doesn't mean that we can't
Correct.
do it.
Yeah.
And I'm with you, Elizabeth. I would like to see a second reach out to, and maybe with a stipulation that there will be an open meeting, and then we could stipulate when the open meeting. We could pick a date and a location, and in that second letter, state that there will be an open meeting
That's a good idea.
on such and such a date, etc. And that way, if they fail to respond because some people just don't want to put that down in writing, they could show up at the meeting.
Yeah.
So that would be my suggestion.
To send out a round 2 of surveys for those that did not reply.
To those who did not reply, but I would
But if
also,
we're
I would
talking about
also.
the open meeting, it should be for everyone.
I was gonna say, if you're
Yeah.
adding the stipulation of a meeting, then
Oh, true.
probably
Right.
it should be sent to everyone. 'cause
To
that's new
everyone,
information,
correct.
yeah.
Right. Well, that'll be the case too when we do have, so if we don't send out more surveys, I mean, there still has to be, that's part of the whole process. We have to have public meetings anyways. But based on what we have received, do you want to send out another round of surveys though, to those that did not reply?
I would say yes, and then with this, maybe the cover page would have the stipulation that we're holding an open meeting, et cetera, and then yes, then a survey, so that if people want to supply the survey in the interim, or bring the survey and present it at the meeting.
I feel like we kind of need those beforehand though.
Yeah.
And if there's a way of doing like a QR code or something, I think that would be more appropriate, or not appropriate, but more accessible. But I don't have that experience of doing a web survey, so but all right, because I can ask, and I think would there be a need to revise the letter at all?
The survey?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Okay, so I can ask Harry, and we can go do that again. What I'll do, I'll need to update the database so that way we don't send out duplicates to people.
John's suggestion was that we do, because we're going to have that time, place, and location.
Or would it just
of
be
a meeting.
separate mailings, like a
Well,
notice to
that could be
everyone
too.
about
Yeah,
the
separate
meeting?
mailing.
Separate
Could be
mailings.
also.
We could do a mailing to those that replied saying like, "Thank you, your survey has been received, and please, you will be receiving correspondence in the future regarding public meetings for this." And then we can send it to the batch that did not send their survey. We can just resend the survey.
Yeah.
With the disclaimer saying that there will be public meetings regarding this for follow up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I say these are impressive. The majority obviously are very interested in maintaining the district and also expanding the district. And I noticed that there's a strong interest in training contractors.
Right. And that's a big project right there, or a big to do, or a big demand anyways, getting the appropriate skilled labor really that can do that kind of work.
A suggestion, we could hold the open meeting here at the city hall, right, out here in this big auditorium, atrium area. Yeah. And just find a date that's appropriate and put that in the letter that goes out.
All right, so we're gonna do two. So we're doing two letters. We're doing one, which is to those that responded to acknowledging that their survey was received, and then the other one is resending the survey.
Resending the survey along with a date with an open meeting. Do we want to choose that at this point, or do we want to wait till next meeting?
Let's wait. I think if we resend the survey, we could add a line in there saying that there will be a future that they will be contacted for a future meeting. Let me see if we can get some sort of a web survey. I think I can ask Sarah Page how they did that with Flint. I think they did one. So I can ask to see like what program they use and see if that's something we can put up on
the website.
On a website, or maybe like
I know
as
there
a
are plenty of like free survey things, but I don't know what's compatible with like the city website.
right.
What they approve of.
So I want to see. Sarah Page with Redevelopment Authority had one for the Flint. And I wouldn't want to put it up on the city website because I don't want everyone
true.
replying. But if it's a postcard that we can mail out to property owners with, hey, take the survey. We're looking to expand the district, or as part of the letter, and there's a QR code that brings them to that link. We can do that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would agree with that, Jason. Just a postcard or a letter to just the properties that we're asking to join the 40C and not the city entirely.
People may
because
be significantly more inclined to just, if they can just do it on their phone.
Absolutely.
Versus mailing. I mean, I know plenty of people that don't even go to the post office, so.
Yeah. And we sent the letters with pre-stamped return envelopes. And, yeah, and one came through as a scan, the top one.
Yeah.
So that one came back as a scan. So yeah, okay. Survey. All right, I'll work with Carrie. But so the line that we should add, do we need to take a vote on the language of that, just that there will be a future meeting, at a later date regarding public meetings at a later date regarding this. They'll be receiving correspondence on that anyways.
Is that something we have to vote on?
I don't know.
I don't think we have to, because
No.
we're just sending a letter. What goes in the letter, that doesn't require a motion.
Do we need to vote to send the mailers out, to approve the mailers?
Well, it wouldn't hurt, I guess, if we did.
Okay.
So we'll make a motion to resend.
2 sets. One, an acknowledgement with a line that says that there will be future public meetings at a determined date.
Right.
And then the other one will be resending out the surveys. I'll look into QR code possibly. With the same line that there will be meetings at a future date.
I'll make that into a motion.
Thank you. Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. All right, motion by Rick, seconded by Elizabeth. Roll call vote on that. John?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jason Bouchard-Naraki, yes. Okay. So then in terms of funding and things of that nature, we'll just work. I'll contact the Preservation Society and we'll go through for that. CPC funding deadline, not deadline, that opens up when?
It has to be submitted by September 1st
For eligibility.
for eligibility.
Okay. But that's on the Preservation Society side, so that's not on us. Okay. Okay. All right. Great. And then if there's no other questions on that, item 21. This is update on the Community Preservation Committee grants for the Steep Brook Bioreserve Form B request for proposals. Rick, do you have info on that, please?
Yes, we had a PAL is the organization out of Boston, right? Pawtucket, I'm sorry, and what they've done is we have one of their representatives assigned to the project. There's been, it was a Zoom meeting with Mike Lavassia, myself, Nina from the planning board, and this Laura from PAL, and correspondence is being worked on.
Okay.
They have drawings. They're ready to start looking at the project. They've already implemented certain actions. They're gathering data, so it's moving along.
Okay.
And hopefully within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we will have a meeting. They want to pull something together where we start to walk through the properties and primarily the properties in the bioreserve. So that's, and they're also looking at doing some of the in-depth viewing in the fall. And their thought process is you won't have all the foliage. You'll be able to better take pictures and better observe what the properties look like. So that's the standings at this point.
How does that work with any potential future work with Roger Williams University?
Roger Williams, there's a meeting, a Zoom meeting on Friday with Elaine from Roger Williams, and we're going to discuss what the next step will be for the Roger Williams group on the Steep Brook area.
Would they be working alongside PAL?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, separate.
Separate project. Okay.
Do they want to do the district?
Pardon?
Do they want to do the district?
The district, wow.
Goodness. Okay. Good. Any?
No, that's basically it. In fact, actually, it's a good thing because Roger Williams this year, the program does not have the 13 students that they had last year. They're down to 8, which means that the scale has to be reduced. So we have there is a lot of unknowns. the shipbuilding, the lumbering, there was some actually, we heard there were coal mining, then a certain amount of coal that was taken from the Steep Brook area years ago. So what they're gonna do is, we're gonna talk and see if they can research a lot of those hidden aspects of the Steep Brook area, and that would, they're excellent for digging into history to that depth, so it'll be really beneficial to us.
Good. Any questions for Rick at all? No? Okay. Thank you, Rick. All right, so this is 7:30 on the dot. Any questions or anything else for tonight at all? We are scheduled to meet next on Tuesday, September 17th. Already going into September. So it is 7:31 p.m. May I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
John, thank you.
Seconded.
Rick, seconded. Okay, motion by John, seconded by Rick to adjourn. Roll call vote. John?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
And Jason Bouchard Naraki, yes. Thank you very much, everyone. Did we skip over that?
Did we skip over?
No, that was table.